In this video, I'm going to show you how to build your own self-hosted AI automation infrastructure on AWS. You will be getting end-to-end for building any AI agent and automation running on enterprise-grade infrastructure. And by the end of this video, you will have professional automation workflows running on your AWS server that you can completely control. There's no dependency on external AI services or other third parties for your automation logic, and no monthly subscription fees eating into your budget. Now let's just be completely honest about what we're building. This is a self-hosted infrastructure running on AWS servers. So it's not going to be maximum privacy like having servers in your own building, but it is going to give you complete control of your software stack, and it keeps your automation workflows just independent from any AI companies. Now here's why this approach is superior and why we've been doing it for our clients and why we're just generally seeing more businesses moving to self-hosted infrastructures is first, you have complete control over your data and processes. So there's no third party that can change pricing, terms of service, or just shut down features that you depend on. Second is you can eliminate ongoing API costs that can quickly spiral into thousands of dollars per month as you are scaling. Third is you can get enterprise-grade reliability where your automations are going to run 24/7 on the same infrastructure that hospitals, Netflix, and Airbnb are using. Fourth is you can customize pretty much everything to your exact needs without being limited by what SaaS platforms can actually offer. So if you compare this to using end-to-end cloud or platforms like Zapier or Make.com, where you're paying per operation, you're limited by their integrations and subject to their pricing changes. Or you can compare it to using ChatGPT's just API, where costs, they increase with every single request. But with self-hosted infrastructures, you're just paying a flat rate for the server. Now this has real business applications where customer service teams, they're automating support workflows without per ticket costs, content creators building automated publishing systems, businesses processing sensitive data without sending it to external companies, and developers prototyping AI applications without burning through API budgets. So what exactly are we setting up today? Well, first, we're just going to be deploying end-to-end, which if you're not familiar already, this is just a powerful no-code platform that lets you build AI agents, automation workflows, and connect hundreds of different services all together. Again, if you're not familiar with end-to-end, I have hundreds of videos on my channel showing you how to use it. It's incredibly powerful for building pretty much complex automations without any code. We're also going to install Ollama, which lets us run open source AI models locally on our server. And the beautiful thing is, this same server setup can run other tools too. So if you prefer Crew AI for building AI agents, or if you want to use Pydantic for AI agents as well, or any of their open source tools, this infrastructure supports it all. Now, I just want to preface that I do not have a technical background. I'm just following a setup guide and copying some commands. That's exactly what you will be doing too if you just stick around in this video. Really quick before we dive in, if you're interested in learning more about building AI automation businesses and growing your own AI agency, or just learning how to do all this stuff so you can grow and scale your own general business, make sure to check out my free school community. We now have over 10,000 members, and it's just an incredible place to connect with others building and getting help with your projects and access to exclusive training content. I will also be posting the complete step-by-step guide for this tutorial in the community, along with all the commands that you're going to be needing. So the link is going to be down below in the description. Again, it's completely free to join, but anyways, let's get started. So what exactly are we going to use to build this infrastructure? Well, we're going to be using, as I mentioned, Amazon Web Services, also referred to as AWS. Now, more specifically, we're going to be using a service called EC2. So let me just really quick go over what AWS and EC2 are. So as I mentioned, Amazon Web Services, it's just Amazon's cloud computing platform. So it's the same infrastructure that powers Amazon, but they just rent it out to businesses and individuals just like us. So think of it as Amazon saying like, hey, we built all these massive data centers around the world for our own business. You can rent some of that computing power as well. And EC2, this just stands for Elastic Compute Cloud, and it's just basically virtual computers that run in Amazon's data centers. And when I say virtual computer, I mean it acts exactly like a physical computer. So it has a processor, it has memory, it has storage, and an operating system, but it's actually just software running on Amazon's powerful hardware. Now the elastic part, this just means that we can instantly make our computer bigger or smaller as our needs change. So if we need more memory, well, we can do this in 2 minutes. If we need more processing power, all you have to do is just a few clicks. And this is incredibly powerful for businesses because you only pay for what you need. And the amazing part is that Amazon gives us about 750 hours per month of EC2 usage completely for free for the first 12 months. And that's enough to run the server 24/7 for 31 days a month. So we're getting enterprise grade infrastructure for free to start with. Now, you might be wondering, why would we use AWS instead of other platforms that I've uploaded in the past? But now you're probably wondering why AWS instead of other platforms that you've probably heard of or from watching all of my other videos like Render, Railway, or any budget VPS like Hostinger. Well, here's the thing that most people do not realize is that many of these simple platforms, they're actually just middlemen built on top of AWS. So Render, for example, this runs on Amazon Web Services infrastructure, but they just add their own limitations and markup. So the question is, why would you use a middleman with more restrictions when we can just go directly to the source? But let me break down what you will actually be getting with these different options. Now, platforms like Render and Railway, they seem attractive because they appear simple, but they're free plans. They have major catches. So your servers, they'll shut down after 30 minutes of inactivity, you get very limited resources, and you're forced to just use workarounds just to keep your automations running. It's like getting a free car that just only runs for 30 minutes at a time. Now, budget VPS providers like Hostinger, they offer what looks like cheap monthly rates, maybe $10, $20 per month, but you're often getting shared resources where your server slows down when other customers just use too much power. Plus, when something breaks, you're often troubleshooting alone. In AWS, they give us something completely different, where we get direct access to enterprise-grade infrastructure, the same exact servers that power Netflix and Spotify, hospitals, and thousands of other major companies. So we get true 24/7 operations with no sleep limitations. We get global data centers, professional monitoring, automatic backups, and enterprise features that just would normally cost hundreds of dollars per month on other platforms. And the economics make sense too. Even after our free year, a basic AWS server costs about $8.50 per month, depending on what you really need, but often less than those budget providers charge, but with enterprise reliability. On top of that, you can just locally host this on your own computer, but then nobody else in your company or on your team is going to be able to access those workflows because they will have to be on your own computer. So it's just like locally hosting, but just putting it on AWS's server so that everybody else can access it easily. You don't have to maintain it 24/7 on your own computer and all that good stuff. Okay, so let's not waste any more time. The first thing that we're just going to do is just go to aws.amazon.com or to search up AWS. Anyways, go ahead and create a free account if you haven't already. I'm going to sign into my account that I have already created. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do once we actually log into our account, it's going to take us to the console, to which we can type at the top EC2. And if we just click on this virtual server right here, it's going to take us into this dashboard where we can then launch a virtual server. So from here, we can just type out whatever we want to call it. I'm just going to call it like AI automation server. And we are going to choose Ubuntu. Select this. And down here as the instant type, this is where we're going to be able to choose how big of a server we actually want to use. So you can see some of the free ones that we are eligible for. Everything else is going to be paid. And there is a very long list of different types and different servers that you can actually choose from. And if you do want to actually pay for a server, which I would recommend, paying $5 to $30 a month for a very large server is going to be worth your while. But of course, just try testing out one of these free servers to start with. So to start, we can use micro, small, flex large, or MC or M7i. And we're just going to use the T3 micro to get started. You can see we'll get 1 gigabyte memory, 2 vCPU, and so forth. So feel free to read all of these details yourself. But we're going to choose the T3 micro. And this is going to be, and if we scroll down just a little bit, you can see we have the key pair login. So what we have to do here is we have to create a brand new key pair. So for the name, I'm just going to type out AI server key. And we could choose RSA as the key pair type. In private key file format, we're looking for .pem. So create a key pair. Automatically, what this is going to do, as you can see, it's going to download the PEM file for us. We'll be later needing that, so make sure not to lose track of that. Once that key pair is set up, we could scroll down. You see that we have the network settings. I'm not going to do anything with this just yet. Later on, we will be tweaking all these network settings and configuring some different ports. So make sure to stick around for all of that. But anyways, let's start connecting to the server after we launch our instance. So it's going to take just about a minute to actually run all of this. You can see it just finished up. It was actually about 2 seconds. We can load this up, and this is our instance dashboard. So just to give you a very brief summarization of where everything is, just to give you a brief summarization of where everything is, we have networking, which is where we'll later be tweaking some different things. Security, usually not going to have to mess with different things within your security, except for the ports where we will be tweaking later on. And if we go back into the instance and click on our instance ID, we'll be able to stop the server or reboot it if we have to, but there's not going to be a whole lot that you have to do within here. So let's actually start connecting the server. And to do this, we're just going to be using the Windsurf IDE, which just gives us a much more user-friendly terminal experience rather than traditional SSH methods, which is what we normally would have to do. So first up, we're going to Windsurf. So first things first, make sure you have an IDE. You can use Windsurf, you can use Cursor, whatever you would like. I'm just going to be using Windsurf myself, but I'm actually going to clear out this terminal and we're going to start completely fresh. So make sure that you already have a brand new file created. I have YouTube demo AI infrastructure called. I can even delete this structure right here and we can just start from completely scratch. All right. Now what we have to do is we're just going to go into the terminal, click on brand new terminal, and this is just going to prompt us with a fresh start. Okay, now if you guys remember from earlier, we automatically downloaded a PEM file. So what we're going to be doing is we're just going to our downloads and we're going to drag that and drop it into Windsurf. So let me go ahead and do that right now. And we're probably going to get a permissions issue. So what we would have to do before all of this, we're just going to go to the very beginning and we're just going to type out, let's make sure to do a space, chmod 400. Make sure we have everything labeled out properly and let's type this in. Okay, so the chmod 400, that's just going to ensure that we won't be denied any access to these folders or the PEM file or anything like that. Now, what we have to do is SSH into our server. So what I am going to do is I'm just going to go to the document that I will have in my school community. Again, it's completely free, and we're just going to copy this right here. So it's going to SSH into our server, but we're going to have our server IP address. So to get that, if we go back into AWS, you can see we have our public IPv4 address right here. So I'm going to copy that. So we should have these two different addresses or two different things that we're going to paste in. So here's the address, but we're also going to paste in our SSH. So it looks like that has to be moved a little bit. Okay, there we go. So we're going to press enter. And it says there's no such file or directory, but everything is looking like we can continue. So it looks like it says permission denied public keys. So we're just going to try to paste this in once again. Hopefully we don't have any more permission issues. Okay, here we go. This is what we're going to be looking for, this long string of text. We don't have to go through all of this, but if you do go through something like this, then this is how you're going to know that you did things properly. Moving on to the next part, we are now SSH'd into our server, which is exactly what we're looking for. From here, what we're now going to want to do is scroll down to step number 4, installing the foundation software. So as you can see, this is just going to be updating the system. And if I just copy this right here and go back to Windsurf, we're just going to throw this in here, press enter, and it is going to take maybe a minute or a few seconds. I'll get back to you guys once it is finished. Okay, but as you can see, this just finished up. But what this was actually doing was, as you see right here, just installing the latest security patches and the updates. We can move on to 4.2, which is going to be installing Docker. So once again, copy this assortment of items and throw this within here. It's going to install Docker for us. And once this finishes up, it'll say no containers need to be restarted. Anyways, let's move on to 4.3. But why we actually wanted to install Docker first was to isolate services and secure containers. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Docker already. If not, it's going to make deployment and updates simple, prevent conflicts between different software, and it's industry standard for professional deployments, just making it super simple and integratable. Anyways, let's move on to 4.3 to verify the Docker installation. So once again, copy this, And this will just make sure that we are just running the proper version and that it actually installed properly. So it says Docker version 27.5.1, build 27.5.1, Ubuntu, which just means that we did everything properly. Step 5, we're going to create a persistent storage. So this is going to ensure that your workflows and the data survives when a container essentially just restarts. So let's throw this in here. It shouldn't take too long to run that. It's going to say n8n data instantaneously. And now we can actually deploy the n8n container, which is what we're ultimately trying to do, right? So let's throw this within here. And you will see within here, we have n8n secure cookie equals false. So what this means is that we are going to have to log in through just HTTP. So to do that, we just want to make sure that we are putting false for the secure cookie. Anyways, let's enter this. It's going to take maybe a few minutes or so, so I will come back to you guys once this part is complete. All right, well, now that this is complete, you'll see that it'll just say pull complete for all these long strings of text, which is exactly what we're looking for. Moving on to the next part, let's just verify the deployment. So we're going to grab the sudo docker ps, throw this within there. It's going to come back with this little table. And let's move on to sudo docker logs within n8n. Make sure everything is running properly here. And it says editor is now accessible via this long string of text. But if I go there right now, it's not actually going to allow us to log into n8n, which is what we want to do. That's the goal, right? What we have to do is we have to configure some things within the security, within the network. So let's start doing that. So what we're going to do now is we just go back into AWS, and of course you can reference this guide once again. It is actually going to be step number 2, because if you remember earlier, we skipped this part when we were setting up our instance. So this is what we have to go back to and just make sure that we set up. So once again, we're just going to go to our instance, go to security tab, click on the security group. So let's just do that really quick, and let's start doing this one by one. So we are in our instance right here. Just go back into your EC2, right in your console. If we go into security, we will click on our security group, edit inbound rules up at the top right. And you can see up at the top, we can add in our specific rules and everything. So the type is just going to be SSH for this first rule, and the TCP, well, let's actually go ahead and add a rule. So we will do custom TCP. The port range, let's see what we were using within our guide. So we have the type, custom TCP, port 5678, and we're just going to copy this string of digits right here. Okay, so port 5678, we'll do this string of numbers right here. And then for the description, I believe we could just be calling this n8n web interface. Okay, so it says CIDR block a security group ID or a prefix list has to be specified. So let's just specify that really quick, or we could just select this dropdown right here. We'll do that instead. Let's add another rule. And this next one, number 2, is going to be the OLAMA. So this is where we're going to be using a open source local model. And remember earlier back in the video, I mentioned that we are not going to actually be able to use this within the free model, this free VPS or EC2 that we are using, because it's just not going to have enough memory, or it just wouldn't be fast enough to actually be running the instance at all. So if you're wanting to be using something like OLAMA, then unfortunately you will have to be paying for, some higher tiers of these servers. So like $30 a month is probably going to be, or $15 a month is probably going to be a minimum of what you would want to spend to run OLAMA and these like Quen models. But in any case, I'm going to show you guys how to set this up. So if we did want to use it, so let's just do the same thing. Custom TCP, we'll choose this port instead, and we're just going to do the same string of the source. So let's go back into our instance, add one more, custom TCP, paste in this port. We're going to use the same numbers, and we'll call this OLAMA local source. Okay, or I should say open source. Next up, we can call this, this one's gonna be HTTP, and this is just gonna allow us to essentially, go into our site from any HTTP. So for the port, we'll do 80, and it's gonna be the same source. And let's go back to our instance right here. Type, we'll do HTTP. Actually, I want to create a brand new one, so let's go back to custom TCP. Now we could do HTTP. Okay. And we could do the string right here. We don't have to give it a description or anything. So I'm just going to save these rules. Okay, so it says there was an error modifying your security group inbound rules. The same permission must not appear multiple times. So let's go ahead and retry that. So within here, it looks like we just changed up the port range. So what was this number supposed to be? I believe it was, let's just go back into our docs and find it really quick. Let's go back to step 2. So the port was 11434, so let's just copy that. And let's go back within here and throw this in. Okay, now let's try to save the rules. Okay, it looks like everything is running properly. So if we will give this a second, we can go back into our Google Docs and we could try loading everything up. So let's go to access the N8N interface. I'm going to copy this green link right here. So this is going to allow me to essentially just log into N8N, but first I'm going to have to actually grab my, if we go into the instances, if we just grab our IP address, so the same address that we had used earlier. So we're just going to copy this public IPv4 address once again. And if we just search up essentially your IP address, we can replace this with our IP. So let's try searching that. Let's see if N8N is going to be prompted. As you can see, it says set up your owner account. So I'm just going to enter some information here, put in my email. I'll put in my first name, last name, and I'll throw in a random password. Okay. For this part, we could just completely skip this. So I'm going to click on get started. And I would recommend to send this to your email and collect that license key. This is going to allow you to actually have access to a few additional features, such as the debugging, which is one thing that I use the most. But in any case, go ahead and do that part. I'm going to skip it for the time being. But if we open this up, we're going to be able to start using N8N. This is going to be hosted on our own server. So we're not going to have to worry about paying for N8N's cloud fees. I think it gets pretty expensive. It starts to be about $30 to $50. I think I'm paying $50 per month for the cloud. But instead, I could be paying for $30 on this server right here. I can get access to local AI models like Ollama. I can get access to pretty much just using unlimited workflows inside of N8N. I can build out any agentic features or any agentic workflows that I would like. So let's start off with a chat trigger. Let's start with here, and let's just build a simple agent. So we'll choose the AI agent, and we're just going to provide it with a model. So before we do this, I do want to install Ollama and at least show you guys how you can actually be doing this for yourself. Again, I am on the free version of AWS, so these models aren't going to work very well. It's going to be very slow if it does work at all. And again, you will probably have to move up to the $15, $30 per month plans if you want to use Ollama, and even consider some beefier servers. But overall, it's going to be a lot cheaper than any other cloud costs. You're not going to have to worry about any other API fees. But besides that, let's get started setting that up. So we're just going to go back into our docs, and let's move on to step 6, which is going to be, or step 7 rather, installing Ollama. Again, it's completely optional and it'll require an upgrade. So we're going to copy this and just throw this back into our IDE. Throw this within there. It's going to install Ollama to our local machine and then download Linux. So I'll come back to you guys once this is actually finished downloading. Okay, this just finished up. As you can see up here, everything looks good. It does say no NVIDIA or AMD GPU detected. That's totally fine. We don't need it. But we're going to move on to the next piece, which is going to grab 7.2, and that's going to pull a particular Ollama AI model. So let's throw this in. Ollama pull. It's going to pull that manifest. Okay. And this next part is generally where we would be testing out our Ollama AI model, but it's not going to work for us because our model just isn't beefy enough and we need more memory, more RAM to actually handle everything. So I included it within here, some of the upgrade requirements for the AI model. So you could go to $30 per month, 60, 120. So if you're using production AI workloads or just handling larger models, consider the $60 per month. For anything relatively smaller, you'll be fine at $30 per month. If you need to, just move up if you have to. If you do want to run these models locally, otherwise you can host it on your own computer instead of self-hosting it on EC2. But in any case, let's get started building out our first workflow. So let's go back to N8N and let's try building something out. So of course, since we're not going to be able to use Ollama, you can just input your own API key from OpenAI and start using that instead. So you would just throw that within here, put in your credentials, obviously. And we can hook up some memory if we would like, simple memory. And let's add a tool. So assuming we are on the latest update, we can now add AI agent tools, which is pretty useful. So we can go down here, pull this down a little bit further. We can even add AI agent tools under our AI agent tool, which is pretty cool. So we can connect anything that we would like, look up Superbase if we would like anything. But let's just go ahead and use a simple Gmail tool. So it's just going to send an email with a particular subject and everything else. So let's hook that up, and I'm just going to leave it at that, but this is where you guys are going to want to customize your agents and your workflows to whatever you need to build out. The main thing is just getting this set up into your instance so that you have a server, that you have anything under your own infrastructure to build this stuff out. So this is how you're going to be able to use Ollama on your own server, how you're going to be able to deploy N8N on your own server, N8N really just allowing us to build out different agentic features, any simple automations if you would like. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, you can be using Crew AI, you can be using Pydantic if you would like, and host this on your AWS server. It's going to be very compliant with, if you want to adhere to HIPAA. So if you're a hospital, if you're a small medical clinic, then of course you can use this as well. But in any case, before I show you guys the next part, which is just where we're going to be managing any updates or anything like that, I wanted to mention something that if you're watching this thinking, okay, well, this looks great, but I'd rather just have professionals set this up for my business, or if you do need just custom AI solutions built for your company, our team provides done for you AI infrastructure setup and custom AI development services. We can deploy enterprise grade AI agent infrastructures, build custom automation systems, and handle just all the technical complexity so that you can focus on your business. If that sounds interesting, then there's a link down below in the description to book a call with our team to discuss your specific needs. But anyways, let's move back to our document guide, where I'm going to be showing you guys how you can actually deal with any updates, dealing with any system updates or anything like that, where if N8N does release something new, then you can be using their newest instances. So if we go down to, I believe it will be right here, so maintenance and best practices. So for any updates, what you can do is you can grab this shell right here, just copy this, and it's going to allow you to run the latest N8N. We can go down to back up your data. So if we copy this shell over as well, this is going to allow us to back up any N8N workflows or stuff that we have built out. If you want to monitor the usage, we can just go within AWS billing dashboard. So let's go through that really quick. So we could find within here, we have a long list of different things, but if we go to monitoring, it's pretty simple. It's to check out everything. We have our CPU utilization, we have the network out, network packets, the CPU credit balance, CPU credit usage. As you can see, it is very low right now because I've hardly been using this at all, but that is how you would be able to monitor everything. Let's go back to our guide. So if you did have any issues within this video, of course, just join my free school community, shoot me a message if you had any trouble at all, or you might find your answer within this document. So make sure to check this out as well. But at this point, you now have a professional automation infrastructure running on enterprise grade servers, giving you complete control over your automation workflows without vendor lock-in or per operation costs. You're not gonna have to worry about any privacy leaks, anything like that. This is literally what hospitals and medical clinics, really any company adhering to HIPAA or GDPR, anything like that, they are using AWS. It's going to be one of your best options and one of the safest and secure ways. But besides that, I really do hope that you guys found some value within this video. If you guys like more things like this to be uploaded, how to actually set up all this stuff, or if you want more videos on how to build out these AI agents, or if you want me to do Crew AI instead of N8N, then just let me know in the comment down below. I'd really appreciate any feedback, any critiques, and of course, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.